Hey everyone, check out Jed as he talks with Father Kurowski on Jed in the Region from February 27th, 2025. Hope you enjoy.
Weekend. Father Kurowski is with us. Father, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jed. How are you doing?
Father Kurowski is a former Methodist minister who converted to Catholicism in 2002. At that time, he started a web ministry called myspiritualadvisor.com. Mm-hmm. At its height, MSA served 30,000 people a year. He's got over 40 years in ministry. He's served as clergy, pastoral associate, volunteer youth director, and all of that, UMC Roman Catholic, and so forth. He's married to Amy, and he has 5 children who are all adults.
And overachievers.
And he is a Catholic priest with 5 kids.
Yeah.
How's that feel?
What day of the week is it? Exhausting sometimes. You know, as they get older, the problems just get bigger and more expensive. But a lot of fun. They're very successful. They're all over the world. I have a son who's a surgeon, an eye surgeon in Germany, and I have another son who's a linguist down in Houston and a communications person in Seattle, and an American Sign Language interpreter. We got the gamut. So.
You got any grandkids yet?
No.
Oh, did I say the wrong thing?
Yeah,
I see the wedding ring.
I want the grandkids. I love children. When I was in South Bend, I would go to the elementary school and read every Friday to the kids because it was just a barrel of monkeys. It was a lot of fun. So
we have to clear a couple things up here.
Yeah, please.
Because Father Kurowski is sitting here with Father Garbon.
I do have Father Garbon.
Yes.
I was ordained, and we're part of the National Catholic Church. So I'm the priest at the Church of St. Raphael, the Archangel, National Catholic Church, ICAB. And what that means is that in our area, we're familiar with the Polish National Catholic Church, are we not? And so they call themselves the National Catholic Church because there aren't that many Polish people in their parishes anymore. Our history is that in 1940s, during World War II, Bishop Carlos Duarte Costa in Brazil went to the Vatican and asked Pius XII to stop granting visas to Nazis. And Pius said no. He wouldn't stop them. And so Costa went public. And when he did, they removed him from his diocese with churches and put him in a diocese in name only. So at that point, there were some other things too that he wanted to have the church grow into, the Mass in the vernacular, you know, and the words of the people. He wanted to marry clergy. You know, in South America, they've had a problem for a long time with clergy having shadow wives, and so he wanted to bring that out into the public. And so he founded our church. We kept Catholic teachings, doctrine, and dogma. But the disciplines, which are the way that we live out our faith. You know, in the Orthodox Church, you can be married as up to 3 times and still be a part of the parish, a part of their churches. And there's some technical reasons, which I won't go into because it's very much in the weeds. But so in our church, if you're divorced and remarried, then you can receive the Eucharist.
You can get communion and be divorced?
Mm-hmm. Because
that is a big difference.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people listening right now that haven't had communion in 30 years because they got divorced.
That's exactly right. And our parish is really made up of people who have been wounded by their church, whether it be the Roman Catholic Church or be some other church. I mean, all churches are equal opportunity offenders in this regard. I don't want to cast aspersions on any one particular place. But for us, so our ordination is from the Roman Church through this bishop. And in fact, one of our clergy, he was ordained a deacon, a priest, and a bishop. He went over to the Roman Church after we ordained him in all 3 of those, and they took him in without ordaining him again, and he sat at the Second Vatican Council, Salome Barbarossa for us. But anyway, so to say that our ordination is not valid would mean that the Roman ordination is not valid.
All right, so you're a priest.
I am.
Can you give communion?
Yeah.
Can you hear confessions?
I hear them, yes.
I'm not. I don't.
You may need to come after
I don't want
today.
to do this. No,
I'm kidding.
All right.
Yeah.
So
there's 7 sacraments, and we have the 7 sacraments.
So, but I mean, is this? I know it started in Brazil.
Yeah.
And it is still kind of like an offshoot. And there's a few of them. Like Sam Michael is in here. What's the name of the church that's on?
It is.
It's on.
I can tell you.
Gosh, and they write us a check, and they do great stuff. They put their masses on Sunday morning.
It is Divine Liturgy from St. Nicholas Byzantine.
Byzantine.
Okay, so now.
So tell me what the difference is here.
The difference is that that particular Byzantine church is under the Pope. They're Eastern Catholics.
Yes, they are.
All right, so we are not under the Pope, but we're still Catholics. So one of the things that I think is interesting is that I was in training to be a Roman Catholic priest under the pastoral provision. So I went up to Mundelein, and I've been fully trained to be a Roman Catholic priest. And so while I was there, it was in a interreligious dialogue class that I took that I learned that Catholicism is not just Rome. There are churches in Jerusalem. The Maronites have a non-Roman Catholic church that's been in existence since the Apostles. The Copts in Egypt, the Syro-Malankars in India. So there are Catholic churches that are not as large as the Roman Church, but are still fully Catholic. So thankfully, the brother of my brother-in-law was a very prominent Jesuit Roman Catholic priest. His name was Paul Mankowski. And he was gracious enough to do the research for my sister, who was suspicious. And so he came back to her and he said, yeah, he's valid. He said, those orders are valid. And so please treat him like a priest and don't scoff at him. So
what you're really getting at is that, I mean, there's different like religious orders inside the Catholic Church. And, a lot of people that are listening or know or are married or whatever, they have kids or, there's most everybody in the region is somehow associated with the Catholic Church. But when you start to dive down into it, like I think the Jesuits are the largest male-dominated religious order. But there are a bunch more.
Yes.
And they all have different personalities.
Charisms. They call them charisms, gifts.
Yeah, so now you're really basically taking that to another level of not being under the Pope.
Right.
And so you have, didn't you start out in Centennial Park in Munster?
We did. We started, so what happened was I was ordained, and that next Sunday, as a recommendation by somebody from the park department at Munster, I took a portable altar out and I set it up, and I got in my liturgical garb, and I walked around for an hour and a half before Mass. And we had 22 people on the first Sunday that came and celebrated Mass outdoors. And during that time, that whole summer of 2017, we didn't have any rain. That was the first time it had ever happened at the farmers market. And I heard confessions in the park from people who hadn't been to church in 10, 20, 30, one woman 40 years. And what I discovered then is that I myself was really wounded by the church. And what that did for me was that it allowed me to speak and see people where they are in their pain. And our parish offers people an opportunity to come back from that. Our focus is on mercy and renewal. And so it makes sense for our where we are. We don't want people who are divorced in one of the most painful times of their life to be separated from the Eucharist or separated from Christ. We want them to be connected to him at that time. And we want that. So, a lot of things happen when you receive the Eucharist, when you receive the creator of the universe into your body. And that is, one of those things is healing. Why would we want those who are in our flock and are just so wounded and so hurting to not receive healing?
You want to talk to Father Kurowski? We'll take some phone calls. 219-845-1100. 219-845-1100. He's with the National Catholic Church. And I told Peter I want to talk to this guy, partly because I talked to my cousin, the former mayor here in Hammond. I don't know, some people don't even know that, but my cousin was the mayor here for like 11 years. And then...
Dwayne?
Yeah, and then
He's a great guy.
Yeah, and then people are like, what happened to him? Well, I'll tell you what happened to him. He was always kind of really into his faith and going to, like it'd be Sunday at 10:30. We might have something going on. He's like, I got to go to church. And so he left being a mayor, and he heard the call, man, and he is a deacon now. And I forget what he does exactly, but he is, anytime anybody dies or wants to get married or whatever, he's there giving all the, what the sacraments that he can. And I don't quite understand what he can do, but he can't become a priest.
Right.
And I think that's unfortunate because
he's a great man.
Because he would have been a good priest.
Yeah, but because I know Dwayne, and he is a great man, and he would make an absolutely fabulous priest.
And if just because he's my cousin and my uncle, I will make fun of him in that he was a wayward youth. I'll be honest with you. I don't know how he ever got elected to be the mayor of Hammond, because the stories that I know of him and his friends and freaking jamokes running around Hammond, or they were crazy. And then all of a sudden he cleans it up to be enough to be the mayor. Not fully cleaning it up, believe me.
But don't be surprised, because that's the nature of encountering Jesus, is that Jesus takes our life experience and he transforms it into something so much better. That's the whole story of the crucifix. He's up there living our experience and dying our death, and then he resurrects it into a brand new life. And that's our focus too, as well, is that I go places that other priests don't go. So this coming weekend, I'm going to go bless a bar, because I met somebody at 219 Day who owned the bar, and I'm going to go and I'm going to bless the bar for them and bring God into their lives. And like we started the church in the park, we took God to the people. Every Sunday, well, not every Sunday, most Sundays, I try to knock on at least 2 doors in the neighborhood. And I don't go to knock on their doors to say, why aren't you here? You're ashamed. I go and I say, how are you? I'm the priest over here at this church. I just want to know how you're doing, and if there's anything our little parish can do to make a difference in your life.
Do you have a church?
Well,
do you have a building?
We rent space at the First United Methodist Church at 6635 Holman Avenue. What we do is...
Hold on a second. Yeah? 66. So I know her... Oh, in the big, yeah.
Yeah.
Used to be a long time ago, I think Pastor Homeg,
Absolutely.
I dated a gal, and her mom was dating Pastor Homeg, and I got to know him really well in his church, and I've been in that building. They do have a lot more room than they probably need right now.
Oh, they have tons of room.
Yeah.
So they have a main church for them, and then we enter, actually, we park on Homan, and we enter through the west side of the building. They park in the parking lot on the east side, and we're both going on at the same time, but you would never know. It's like 2 separate churches. But it's a fabulous facility, and they have been absolutely gracious to us. I'm very thankful about that.
So I mean, what's the end game here? You have Roman Catholic Church, you have Polish National Catholic churches, you have Byzantine Catholics that are on with Sam Michael is, I don't know if he's a deacon or whatever, but he's up there singing every Sunday and that kind of thing.
Cantering? Mm-hmm.
Cantering. And so, I mean, there's kind of a lot of competition in a weird way for Catholics, yet there's less and less people going to Mass. And I'll be honest with you, I think like the Byzantines, Sam, people die, they give them some money, but they're not necessarily replacing the people. Aren't coming. The money may be coming, but the people aren't coming.
Well, we need to change. The churches needed to change. It used to be we expected people to come in the doors. That is not going to happen anymore. And I don't know why we think that we're any different than the 12 apostles. There are 12 apostles and there are 4 gospels, and there's a reason why. Because they were 12 different personalities. And those 12 different personalities went out into the world and they formed 12 different Catholic churches. And then you have the 4 Gospels. Why? Because at the council of the Synod of Hippo, the church had, inspired by the Holy Spirit, decided that we needed to have 4 accounts so that not one gospel would be the quote-unquote gospel, and so that we would hear from the 4 different voices of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So I don't see us in competition with each other. I see us as like the original church. We always have this idea. We create these golden ages. I think it was Cincinnatus or Caesar Augustus, one of the two, that said there was never a golden age. If there's a golden age for who? And so the reason we have the letters of St. Paul is because those churches were disasters. And he had to write them letters to say, straighten up. Be more loving.
What's your favorite of the four? Matthew,
Gospels?
Mark, Luke, John, who?
Well, Mark is awesome because we share a name, but Luke is fantastic. You could
Compassion. He's Mr. Compassion. Marginalized people. I'm the same way.
Yes.
I think Luke is, if I'm in church and they're reading from Luke, or you had to choose one when I was at St. Tom's, and I'm like, wow, this guy is pretty cool. And some of the other ones, like, are a little bit more authoritative. I'm like, hey, you can do that. I hear that every day at football practice.
I'll challenge you something. Go read the Gospel of Luke like a novel. Don't pay attention to the numbers or to the headings that the editors put into it. Just go read that thing like a novel, and you'll sit there going, what the heck is this guy going to do next?
Well, his whole thing was that I think they called it the reversal, and that at some point the low socioeconomic people will rise up and be rewarded in heaven and that kind of stuff. One of the messages of Luke is not popular right now, and that is that you basically should be suspicious of wealth and of gluttony.
Yes, I've been preaching on that.
And I mean, that has never left me.
Nor retribution, by the way.
Nor retribution, exactly.
In fact,
the Gospel of Luke is like, hey, let's not talk about that right now because it doesn't fit.
Do you think that it's a coincidence that the Gospel of Luke comes up in the lectionary cycle when this time in our histories? I don't think that that's a coincidence. By the way, you can hear my homilies at the Joyful Priest on Instagram if you want.
Don't you have a podcast? Is that it?
That's my podcast.
What's it called?
It's At the Joyful Priest.
At the Joyful Priest.
On Instagram.
On Instagram, and you can't get it on Apple or Spotify. Got to get on Instagram.
I can put it. I do have a lot of my homilies on Spotify. I'm trying to be more regular about that.
Okay, this is Father Kurowski, Kurowski. You want to go to his servers. It's at 10 o'clock. At the United Methodist Church around the back.
No, we're in the front.
Oh, you're in the front.
We're in the front. They're in the back.
I'm sorry, they're in the back. My fault. I would have thought it would have been the other way around.
No, well, but that's where their parking lot was. 6635 Holman Avenue in
All
Hamburg.
right, and that's right near the gas station, right down from the gas station, and Churches Row on Holman. Well, interesting talking to you. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, why don't you? If anybody doesn't have a place to go for Ash Wednesday on March 5th at 7 p.m. Come on by. We'll be open for business. And, if you want your house blessed, by the way, I would be more than happy to come to your home and bless your house. You provide a bowl, water, and salt, and I bring the aspergillium. And we'll drive away the evil spirits and give you a great space to have peace in your home.
So,
if anybody wants to get a hold of me, they can go to RaphaelNWI.org, RaphaelNWI.org, and we have all the contact information right there.
All right, man. Cell phone 219. Should I read this out loud on the air?
No.
Okay.
I'll tell you the church number, though. The church number is 219-595-2363.
Do that.
219-595-2363.
There you go. I almost gave your cell phone out on
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, hey, man, thanks a lot for coming in and explaining it. I think you met with Peter a few times. Peter's like, dude, you got to have this guy on. And I don't fully understand your church fully yet, but, I'll have an open mind, and we certainly share the appreciation of the Luke gospel. So,
and by the way, if you, I'd like to come back sometime. We'll talk about how I shut down a strip club in Gary, Indiana one time in ministry. That'd be fun.
You shut down? You mean like you drank until like 3 in the morning and closed it down?
No.
Or you actually shut it down so it doesn't exist anymore?
It does not exist.
Oh, I was going to say, because I've I've shut down strip clubs too, but that was a different way of saying it.
What time does the show end that I can put my skull on and hear the confession?
I was going to say, he left the best story for the very end.
Well, we're gonna have to have him on
Yes.
in a different venue. Thanks a lot, Father.
Thank you.
We appreciate you coming in and enlightening
pleasure.
us. And you can call his church at 219-595-2363.
Yep.
Until, we'll be right back
Thanks a
on
lot.
the Voice and Face of the
All right,
Region.
thanks.
Hey everyone, check out Jed as he talks with Father Kurowski on Jed in the Region from February 27th, 2025. Hope you enjoy.